being a writer, being an author is kind of a lonely venture. I enjoy solitude, but writing is lonely, and it can bring you to some dark places, but it can also teach you and bring you to some very happy places. But you're alone the entire time you're doing this.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Writing Inspiration with Markee Books. Say hello to Joshua Allen. Hello, Joshua. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well today. It's been a good going so far this afternoon.
Oh, that's good to hear. So, Joshua, tell me, how long have you been a writer?
For years, but I didn't seriously get into it until pretty much the last 2 years of my life. It was mostly me learning how to write in a professional manner. So it's all really new for me, professionally speaking.
Oh, so you became a professional basically on the pandemic?
Yeah, I guess that's when I thought about really putting together a story. Yeah, I guess that would be correct.
But it's not so rare. I had met some guests that said the same thing.
Okay.
The pandemic, I guess, was like gave people a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah. It was a post divorce for me, and I was living alone. And during quarantine, I was just trying to find ways to occupy my time, and I just started writing.
I see. So, you mentioned you have been doing this for many years. For how long?
Well, since I would say, childhood through adolescence, through college, I was always writing short stories, mostly because I didn't really have the devotion or the time to write a full novel. So I wrote short stories and wrote little outlines of an idea that I would have, but I would abandon it after about a week,
I get it. So, what did it spark the interest to become professional?
Well, I found myself in a position where I had the time to devote myself to a hobby and spend more time on a hobby. And I had so many ideas in my head for a story, and I don't have a gigantic budget. So I said, well, the best way I can tell a story is by just writing it down. And so I said, I've always been writing. Why don't I just take the time to write a full novel? And that was really why I started. And then, I had to look up courses on YouTube to find out, what is the structure of a story? How do I go about doing this? So the first 6 months of figuring out how to do it professionally was just learning and, educating myself.
I can imagine. So, before that, you wanted to try other media?
Yes, I was really into film, still am. But that is a field that I found very difficult to really sink my hands into and get a firm grasp on it. I even went to school for a little bit of filming and for my associate.
Well, a screenplay, it's a little bit more simple, in my opinion, than writing a book.
Yes. And I have, I'm epileptic, I have epilepsy. So my health plays a part in what I do professionally. So writing had always been a hobby of mine. I said, well, that's my best bet. That's my best opportunity to take advantage of is just to write out my story. So film was something, and I'm a musician too. And I dabbled in bands and playing out, live shows.
Is that your job, like your full-time job, other than writing?
No, I would do. I do freelance work on occasion, but I never really found joy in that, and it was fun, but it wasn't something that I liked to do professionally. I found it a bit demeaning, and the professional atmosphere of being a musician I never cared for, so I never chose it as a career. I still occasionally do freelance work with the guitar or something, but that's rare.
Okay, so are you like traditionally published or self-published?
Self-published, publishers quite thoroughly about maybe working with them, but I decided for at least my first book, I would just do it myself to have full freedom and, because I can always work with a publisher later. So I figured, my best route would probably just to do it independently because it is so easy to do that now. So I took advantage of that.
I agree. For the first one, it's better in self.
Yeah, yeah. I found that to be true too.
So, was there like any work from another writer that inspired your work?
Oh yeah. I mean, like any other fantasy writer, Tolkien, that's to me, that's really the pinnacle. I'm a big Peter Pan fan too. So Jan Barry is just that original story of Peter Pan. I've read so many times. There's so much imagination in it, and it always left me in a state of wonder after I was done. And Agatha Christie, her works did that to me. Always left me thinking. At the end of reading one of her books.
Oh, you like mystery too?
Yeah, a little mystery. I like to try to figure something out as I'm reading, put the pieces together, and her books are just so well written.
Do you prefer to write on a single genre, or are you doing whatever please you?
Yeah, whatever I'm thinking of at the moment. It just so happens I tend to imagine in a fantasy genre. I'm always listening to music. I've listened to music at night as I fall asleep for probably the past 10 years of my life. So I'm falling asleep imagining wherever a song
to do that, but in the morning my ears hurt.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because the earplugs.
Oh, okay. Well, I just set up my phone and I have a bunch of playlists for whatever mood I'm in at night. And usually it's music, it's instrumentals, it's cinematic trailer music or contemporary classical music.
Well.
And usually, it has no vocal and it has like a time limit. So after about 2 hours, it turns off and I'm asleep by then. So,
okay. Yeah. I will do that, but I don't live alone. So you should.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get
it
that.
might be bothersome.
Yeah, I was once married, so that's not usually the route I took when I was married. But as a single man, I'm able to do that.
Okay. So tell me, what's the most difficult thing you had to struggle when you start professionally writing?
My grammar, writing, structuring a sentence or a paragraph correctly, and staying in the same tense. I like to write in past tense, but as I'm writing, so fast as ideas are coming out, I tend to
me too.
jump around. It might be a common problem with writers.
Just that it feels natural. Even present can be okay, but for most, I have seen it's in past tense, and so I don't think it's that abnormal.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. How long did it take you to complete the first book?
I'd say about 9 months. And that was because, and that was, I think I would have finished it faster, but I'm never really happy with my work. I always feel like things can improve, which is true, for really anything. But finally I had to just commit to a draft and say, all right, don't change anything anymore. Just accept it the way it is. And I think I have other drafts that were better, but I chose the one that I was most happy with. I felt it was more true to what I was going for. I think I have better versions of my first book on my computer somewhere, but I went with what I really enjoyed and what I liked. So
I wish to have more versions of my first book. My first book is 500 pages, so making a second one with different, it's a bit difficult.
Yes. My first draft was over 300 pages, and I had a couple editors run through it, and they gave wonderful critiques. And the thing that they said most was I was info dumping. I was constantly adding too much information. And So by the time I had a final draft, a final manuscript, it was a little over 200 pages. And that's kind of what I was going for anyway.
Actually, in my case, I decided to, with my editor's approval, to make my book into two
Mm,
because it was too long.
okay. Yeah.
So
Same.
it was better like that, and because I didn't want to compromise to take like 200 pages.
Yeah. Yes. I get that. I get that. I understand that.
So I'll at the start of the next year, I'll just like repurpose what is, cut it in half, and try to make a closure on that point to to make it make sense.
Yeah. And I went down the same road.
So, what is your writing routine like? Are you a planner, plotter, etc.?
Let's see here. My writing routine changes. I'm very finicky about the environment around me as I write. Um, I like to leave the walls of my apartment and go out into the world and write in coffee shops and bookstores, comfortable atmospheres. But I get very distracted. So my best writing comes from me at home at my desk with my cat beside me. you know, she usually will fall asleep in a chair next to my chair as I write, with a little bit of music playing in the far background, very quietly, with a cup of tea next to me. And that tends to produce my best writing, in my opinion. But I don't stay in that routine. I tend to bounce all over the place because I'm an antsy person by nature. I tend to
Okay.
just, I don't like that about myself, that I'm so antsy and anxious, but that's how I am. So I've come to just deal with it and say, all right, figure it out. That's how I am. So just figure out what works.
Okay, okay. So, do you outline when you write?
Yes. Yes. I had probably 100 different outlines and never stayed true to any of them. I outline like crazy. And right now I'm writing my sequel and the third portion in my series of Sons of Wondoria. And I have 1,000 outlines and I'm trying to stay within those boundaries, but I don't know. I'm all over the place.
Yeah. Do you do like anything in particular when you deal with writer's block?
Yes, that's a struggle. Writer's block is a real thing for everyone. And when I'm having a writer's block, I just I'll I'll leave behind what I'm doing and I'll either write music. I really, really enjoy being surrounded by the natural things of Earth. I really enjoy going hiking. Um, I'm a bird watcher. I love birding. I love I will go to cat cafes or places where there's dogs and different animals. I love to watch creation and kind of learn from it. And so that's a big part of my personality is I want to be around life that is innocent in its nature and pure, I guess. I'm not a big people person. I will be if I have to. I enjoy people individually, but in groups, I really don't enjoy being around groups of people. On a one-on-one basis, I love people as individuals, no matter where they're coming from. I love people, but in group settings, I don't quite enjoy that. So when I'm having writer's block, I try to go to places that make me feel comfortable, so I can escape my creativity and just experience life. And that works. Usually within a couple of days, I'm back into the creative writing mode. Yeah, yes, back into the flow of things. Yep.
It's good that it's very similar to many of my guests had said before.
Yeah.
So, do you have like any story of how you name it your book?
Yeah. The story behind the title is originally the story was called something different. And
It's
I was
always
in,
like that, doesn't?
yeah, it is. And I was originally in a band where I asked some friends to play music with me, and I asked the vocalist if he would write lyrics based on my story, and he was certainly all for that. You know, I'm a big fan of bands like Coheed and Cambria and the Mars Volta. Those are big inspirations of mine, and they especially Coheed and Cambria. There is a story behind their music, and I had the privilege of playing a show with them years ago, and I've had a number of conversations with the singer, and he, I ran into him at a taco restaurant, or I've ran into him different places. I doubt he'd even remember me, but I'd always ask him about his story that the music is attached to, and so I started to begin with that route. I'm like, all right, if I'm going to tell a story, I enjoy writing music. So, and the band was called June Rising. That was years ago, and it was about someone named Daniel June, who was a scientist. And as the years went on, and I was no longer playing music, my story was more focused on his son and the son's relationship with the father. And that's kind of the heart of my novel, is the relationship between a young man trying to figure out who his father really is, and the importance of the role of a father in a son's life.
Oh, you're meaning a figurative way. Okay, I get it
Yes.
now.
Yeah. So the arrival to Sons of Wondoria, I'm a big believer in people should wonder, people should imagine. I went back to the Latin for wonder, which was something similar to Wondoria. And I go, what if I wrote a story about a young man and his friends, and how it kind of causes the reader to wonder about life? And so that's where Sons of Wondoria stems from. Wondoria is an island that is kind of a relic. It's been lost in time. The world has forgotten about this little island. And so everyone on the island has no clue about the world around it. And so it's kind of like a relic lost in time. And it's a place of wonder and imagination. And these young men try to save it from a wicked creature. So, and along the ways, it motivates the reader to wonder themselves.
So, what would you say is like the main message in your book?
Purpose. Everyone should have a purpose in life. And they should be discovering that purpose at a young age, especially for young men. I think young men really need to figure out their purpose in life, and it should be a positive purpose to support others and to protect others. I think young men need to realize that they are part of a privileged group where they can sacrifice themselves to help others, to protect others, to give others a sense of safety and security. And that's kind of the overall theme of the story, is purpose, and the purpose should be positive for other people.
Okay. So, can you tell us a bit about your most recent book?
Yes, my first debut. It's my only book. Got a copy of it right here. It's Sons of Wondoria. It's fucking blurring it out. It's available on Amazon and
Nice
Barnes and
cover, by
Noble.
the way.
Thank you, and shout out to my friend Ben Verone, who works with his company, Count Your Bees. It's called, or he helped with the cover. He did an extremely good job with it. I'm very happy that he was willing to work with me. And it's my debut novel. It comes in hardcover and paperback, and there's a ebook on Amazon, KDP. And I have a first edition, which I only printed so many copies. So I only printed 100 copies. They're gone. I have a couple left. But Those were limited, so it had a different, darker cover that I didn't really care for. I don't know why I chose that as the cover of the book. But, I went with a different one. I made a second edition, which includes art, and I just feel it fits what I was going for better.
I agree. Even making little illustrations can help a lot.
Yeah, yeah, and in my story, like, it includes, it's a fantasy story, so it includes a map, and there's a map right within the story. Count Your Bees was my the artist who helped with the cover, and there's lots of art throughout the story that kind of helps the reader acknowledge what I'm going for: beauty and a sense of wonder.
Okay. So you mentioned you're working on the second and third book, right?
Yeah, I am.
Between the three, what do you think it's like the most enjoying experience right now for you?
Learning about myself. Because what I found is that writing is kind of a lonely task. I am engulfed in my little world that I'm creating, this little island. But I'm the only one that really sees it. Now, readers have shared their experience. Complete strangers have experienced or have shared their experience with me. People I don't know, and it touches my heart that people are now embracing what I've created. But I have found that being a writer, being an author, is kind of a lonely venture.
Yeah, it's very difficult, like, to make friends in work.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is very. I enjoy solitude, but writing is lonely, and it can bring you to some dark places, but it can also teach you and bring you to some very happy places. But you're alone the entire time you're doing this. So,
Well, if you remember, the most writers from like the past century were a little bit, you
yes,
get it.
and now I get why they were like that. Because it's where it takes you. It's a music never did that to me. I was a musician. Sometimes you see, these sad musicians, but music never led me to dark places. Writing has, and it can be scary sometimes. But you learn about yourself as you.
I think depends on the musician because some.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, good point.
So, what advice would you give to new writers starting right now?
Learn from others and be willing to invest in yourself. Never give up either. Never give up. Who cares if it takes you 10 years? And who cares if your first or several writings or drafts aren't that good? Who cares about that? It's something everyone should be writing. You get your thoughts out there. You figure something out. Sometimes you need to write something down to figure out and improve. It will improve you. And if it improves you, then it should improve people that communicate with you. And writing helps you to understand other people and to gain their perspective. In a time period where it can feel like you're divided from people, if you try to understand other people's cultures and try to understand other people, well, it puts you in their place, and now you're not divided from them, and now you understand them. And that's a beautiful thing. That helps connect us with other people and other cultures. Diversity can be a very beautiful thing, and we should kind of embrace it,
What you say is very beautiful. I really wish it is like that. I met someone before that told me that someone that doesn't understand other people can write realistic characters. So I always had that little spine on my head thanks to that.
Yeah. I understand. That's understandable. And another thing with writing is when you learn about another culture, you don't have to agree or accept their way of living. You don't have to approve of it, but understanding it helps you to understand the people better.
Yes. You just need to understand the patterns and see what is common with others. I have done deep dives on many cultures and sometimes religion of the world. And when you see the patterns, you understand why logistically and socially they took the decisions they made when they created the rules, and see
Yes,
that people are usually think on the same ideas for the same
yes,
purpose.
that's very true. Yeah,
But
I
people
get that.
tend to forget that because usually, the winners make the history.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. History, yeah, history can be corrupted by those who are writing it. Yeah, that's scary.
True. So, what do you think it's like your largest goal or dream since you became an author?
My dream is to create a world in a series of novels that will improve other people's outlook on life or other people's hopes for the future. I really want people to understand what I'm going for. And it's not about me. I want to provide something that somebody can escape to, and it brings them a sense of peace. And I want to provide something, and they can forget me entirely. But if they see a world that is a safe place for them to be in, even if it's for 10 minutes of their life reading, that's kind of a wonderful thing. It's a gift that I can try to provide to enrich another person's life. I really want to create something. Because if you look at franchises like Star Wars, or Marvel or DC or Lord of the Rings, there's a lot of things that people really embrace, and it helps them. If I can create something like that, I would be so happy. Um,
Yeah, I would love to have a franchise. No, maybe that's not the word. Something that can be repurposed to any media. I will be
yes,
happy with
yes,
that.
yeah. I don't like the term franchise either. I think it kind of is demeaning in a way, or not demeaning, but superficial. I don't like that
With
term.
how people use it now, I totally agree.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Do you have like a talk experience with a reader and they say something that you never forgot?
Yeah. Yes. I had someone contact me through one of my social media platforms, and they shared what the book made them think of. And it wasn't what I was going for, but it was still very pleasant. It was still very peaceful, and I guess that is what I'm going for. I want people to have a better outlook on themselves in life after reading what I provide. And I think morality is important. I know not everyone shares the same sense of morality, but I think happiness and peace are very important to a person. And what they shared, I felt, is what I was going for. They shared, what did they say? They said, they told me it made them feel safe after they read the first chapter of my book. And that was exactly what I was going for. But the things it made them think of, I would never have thought of. But because I put a lot of effort in. When a reader reads the first chapter, I want them to feel safe, and it accomplished that. And I was really happy the person contacted me and told me that.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So, how much research would you say you do for your book?
At least 6 months worth of constant watching YouTube videos of how to structure a story. I read a lot. I reread The Hobbit and Peter Pan over and over again, and highlighted things that I uh, thought should should be kind of an overall vibe or an overall tone that I want to that would inspire me. And I'm like, I wanted that to be part of my just little. Tolkien has a way of phrasing something in such a simple way, but it captures so much. And plus scripture is like that too, the Bible. The scripture is written in a way that anyone can understand it. You know, it's like it doesn't matter if you're really, really sophisticated and intelligent, or you could be a child and you could read something and within scripture and be like, I understand that. I get it. It makes me feel happy. You know, there's wisdom in it. So I spent a lot of time reading and learning to get where I was.
Okay. So, where do you place your books in like genre and categorization?
I would say young adult fantasy is really my niche. I would say clean young adult fantasy. It's really for anybody. I've had a lot of readers reach out to me. I've had at least half a dozen readers reach out to me and say, after they read it, they gave it to their son or daughter to read because they thought they'd enjoy it and it would benefit them too. And that means a lot to me that anyone could read the book and enjoy it. That means a lot to me.
That's nice. So,
Yeah.
do you have like a support network with other writers?
I'm building it. Yeah, I'm building that. I've only been at it for 7 months, so I am slowly building it. Of others who are either going for this or going for a similar thing, or even individuals who are doing something that I would never do, but they have good advice. I met someone not too long ago. His genre is the last thing I would ever go after, but he still had a positive outlook on things and was a decent human being. So, and he was a good person to network with too. And so I don't like to judge other writers on what they write. I don't like to judge people, so I like to just kind of allow them to talk to me in their own way, so that perhaps I could learn from them too. So I'm building a network slowly. Yeah.
So, how do you handle like marketing, sales, and stuff?
That's I hate that aspect of it. I'm not in. I really don't like. I'm not a fan of money.
The consequence of self-publishing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a time where I don't have to concentrate on that. If that time ever comes, that would really be a dream of mine where I could hand it over to somebody else and go, all right, can you do this for me? I don't care if I have to pay you, just do it for me. So
Yeah.
I hate the commercial aspect of writing in books. I think
Oh
it
God, yeah.
robs all the joy. I don't like creating content. I don't like trying to sell myself. I hate that
Oh
stuff.
yeah. I hate self-promoting on Instagram stuff too.
Oh, yeah, it's draining and it makes it seem so. There's so much vanity in it. I can't stand it.
Oh God. So how do you like stay creatively inspired?
I go back to the things that inspired me in my youth. My brother was a huge, and still is a big inspiration to me. My older brother. When I was a kid, anything he did, I was into. He was probably my biggest inspiration behind any creative thing I did. Because I always looked up to him and still do to a great extent. And so I go back to my original inspirations, which was my brother, again, Peter Pan and The Hobbit. There's musicians that I still turn to after decades, and new musicians too that are more modern. Hans Zimmer is someone that I listen to his music a lot. Joe Blackenberg is another composer that I listen to, or Christopher Eisfeld's is a composer that I listen to a lot, and their music inspires me. But just going back to my original sources of inspiration has helped me.
Okay. So what are your plans for the future? Are you like planning to go to an event to promote yourself, maybe?
Yes, I just recently spoke with someone in connection with the Flower City Comic Con, and I'm setting up more events with libraries and events will be something that I'm going to be much more involved with going forward.
Will you share it with your social media or?
Yes. It'll be once I things are more in place, I will be sharing it with the public and going back to that self-marketing thing. But it will be publicized, and I'm even in discussion with a foundation that will get my book into schools, so it'll be more available for students, adolescents. So that's in the process. There are a lot of things in the horizon that I'm looking forward to, so that I can reach more hearts.
So, you mentioned you'll do like a trilogy. It's a longer series, or it's going to end there?
I would like it to go beyond a trilogy, but I've kept myself within the bounds of a trilogy so that the trilogy itself is good. I don't want to. I do keep in mind it's going to be a series, but I'm focusing more on the core trilogy, and then after that, I can explore Wondoria. I can kind of escape the boundaries of just the Sons of Wondoria. Now, after the trilogy, I can go to all these other characters that I've created.
Actually, I thought something similar, but before at the start, my editor told me that finish your first book, then you can like do something else to refresh yourself and go back to this main series after. But after that, we decided to like I finished one spin-off, a short story spin-off. Well, I wouldn't say short because it's 120 pages, so it's not really a short story. It's a short book, but not a short story. It's better to finish the series now, and then I can continue the spin-off. Because the spin-off was going to be a short story trilogy.
Okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had individuals contact me and say, you should write a story of a series of stories on this one character. I want to learn more about that person. And I'm like, I never thought of that. I'm like, okay, yeah, in the future, hopefully I'll write, everyone's asking me, you got to write prequels to these characters, because I am trying to build a world, world building. I'm trying to do that. So people are giving me ideas. Fans of what I wrote are giving me more ideas. So
okay. Are you planning to like adventure in other genres, like other than a fantasy, maybe adventure, romance, horror, sci-fi?
I do have sci-fi ideas every now and then, but no, I haven't really thought of that. Maybe I don't like to say no to things, but no to ideas. But right now I'm so focused on my trilogy that I haven't even given thought to.
Think about that. Yeah, I get it. So, can you tell me, like, in what platforms we can get your books?
Yes, you can purchase it on Amazon, Amazon KDP. I know it's available through Amazon KDP, Barnes and Noble. You can get it online, or you can go to a store and order it. I know it's available through Apple. I'm not too familiar with a lot of the platforms it's available on. Again, I'm not so concentrated on the sale. It's nice. It's nice to see that it's selling, but I don't really focus on that. This is a hobby of mine. I never saw it as a career.
Okay. So, can you share like your social media for people like to get in touch?
Yeah. Yes, and I'm available on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And if you go through those, you would just have to type in the title of my book, Sons of Wondoria. And or you can look up my author name, Joshua Allen, and I'm sure you're going to find me. I mean, my Instagram handle is Sons of Wondoria, and I think it's the same for Facebook and TikTok. And I have sonsofwondoria.com. So, and that has all the links at that. That's basically just a hub of links.
Well, Joshua, I think that's all for now. Thank you so much for answering our questions and for coming here today.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for coming to another episode of Writing Inspirations with Markee Books. Bye, Joshua.
Bye bye.
Hope to see you again.